Yes, sir, boys. How was that intro, dog? Did that get y'all hype for 298 tomorrow?
Dude, it got the goosebumps rolling. The hair on the back of my neck is raised. I am ready for UFC 298. Honestly, I
Uh,
know Ben is the MMA guru in the house, but this main event has me more pumped up than any main event than I can remember in a long time. We got Volkanovski versus Topuria. I'm excited to break it down with the boys.
yeah.
And the intro, Ron, to answer your question, perfect. I'm ready to break it
All
down.
right. I'm glad you loved it, Ben. How you feeling, man?
Yeah, didn't
297.
even need the new intro, Ron. This fight card gets you pumped just on how it looks on paper. Had one tweak to one of the fights today. Had a Tafa out, so a younger brother jumps in on an hour notice, weighs in at heavyweight, and he'll fill in to fight for his brother against Rodrigo de Lima, Rogelio de Lima. So really pumped for this card, Ron.
Hell yeah.
Wife's out of town, got the house to myself. I plan on golfing tomorrow morning and then just turning on the grill, watching All Star Weekend and the fights. Really pumped for this card.
Man, it sounds like you got the weekend all set up, Pap. So
Hell yeah.
you guys want to do a little chit chat? How's the UFC? Just so we can get everybody. We just went live. We just shared on Facebook. If you guys are joining us, please share and like. We'll give everybody about a couple minutes, to share and to like. So coming off the fight nights and coming off of UFC 297, the UFC has been a little bit disappointing, would you say? I mean, the Strickland card wasn't that great. And you guys said you're hyped for this one. Do you think it's going to live up to the hype is the thing?
Yeah,
I think it was,
hopefully. Oh, I was
Go
going
ahead,
to say
Ben.
real quick, hopefully it does because it has been a pretty light start to the year. That
What's
Strickland
up,
fight was
Stevie?
pretty underwhelming. But this, we talked about, it's going to be like, 20. I forget how many weeks of straight MMA fights, but the build
11.
up to UFC 300, the fight cards are just going to get better and better. So we're in for a good next 2-3 months of UFC action. Every weekend, whether it's a fight night or a pay per view, there's some really good fights coming up.
You love it. You love it.
Yeah.
Roland, you ready for this, man?
Yeah, 11 straight UFC weeks. Dana White has it ready to go. I'm pumped up for this card. It has been a little bit of a light start to the year, but hey, we're barely in February. This is about to kick it off. After this card, we have UFC 299. We all know O'Malley versus Chito Vera is headlining that card in Miami. So the UFC is just kicking the year off. And honestly, this is a perfect card to start the year off right because honestly, Volkanovski versus Topuria. This is potentially this is like a changing of the guard type fight. This is like a Jose Aldo versus Conor McGregor type fight potentially if you buy into the hype of Ilia Topuria. So honestly, the UFC is about to kick things off right now, and I couldn't be more excited to
Hell
break
yeah.
it down with you guys.
Hell yeah. Well, you just said it kicked things off. So let's kick things off, boys. All right. So the first fight that we're going to cover, and today what we're going to do is mostly predictions and winners. So if you guys are into betting or if you guys just want to bet with the homies on the side, we're going to give you guys who we think is going to win these fights, or at least who Ben and Roland think is going to win these fights. So we're starting off Marab versus Cejudo. All right, they're both 33, 5'4", weighing in at 135. A little bit longer of a reach for Marab, and clearly the favorite, minus 218. Roland did mention off camera he's all the way up to 280. Roland, since you mentioned the odd chains, let's go ahead and kick it off with you, man. Who's winning the fight? How are they winning? And overall, man, who's going to get their hand raised at the end of the fight?
So when you're betting and you're following these guys, it's kind of hard to separate the money and where you're laying your true your analytics and versus where you like a guy. And it's hard for me to separate this because I do like Marab, I like Henry Cejudo both as personalities, and when it comes down to the stylistic fights or the stylistic matchup between Marab and Henry Cejudo, it's a great matchup. You got Marab, who's truly just a full pressure fighter. He's going to be in your face. He knows nothing but to press forward. And then you got Henry Cejudo, who's the All-American wrestler. You know his accolades. He's a former UFC champion trying to climb his way back up to the top. But where I lean in this fight is with Marab. I think his pressure is going to be a little too much for Henry Cejudo. The line here has moved a little bit to Marab. He opened up a little bit below minus 200. You've seen it creep up to as high as minus 270 as we just entered this live broadcast. So I'm gonna side with Merab in this fight. It does scare me a little bit. This is a 3-round fight opposed to a 5-round fight, because usually with the pressure fighter, as a fight moves on towards championship rounds and the 4th and 5th rounds, that's usually when they take over. This is a 3-round fight, so maybe Henry can neutralize some of what Merab is going to be coming with. But I'm going to side with Merab in this fight. I agree with where the money is going, and let's see what Ben says.
Yeah,
Ben, all right, man. Let's take it to you. First of all, what you sipping on over there? Because I saw you sipping on something.
Yeah, I got some premieres here on deck because, like I said, a great weekend. But
you ready, cuz? You ready, dog? You ready?
Yeah, Steve in the comments saying Merab by TKO. I would like to see that. However, Roland mentioned that it's only a 3-round fight. I agree with Merab. I mean, I think everybody we saw Cejudo, lose that fight to Aljamain Sterling. Merab has his last fight. He shot, I think, 30 takedowns. So the guy, his nickname is the Machine for a reason. His cardio is insane. We've seen Cejudo take a lot of time off. And when you take time off and you're one of these lighter guys, you're only getting older, you get slower. I think that Merab is going to have his hands on Henry, and Henry's going to be playing a lot of defense. I see Merab by decision. Roland mentioned the odds have gone up. Probably a little out of hand to be betting Merab at 3-1, even though I think he wins, but it's probably better off taking Merab by decision, which should, hopefully be plus money. I know, like I mentioned, Steve thinks TKO, but Henry Cejudo has been, pretty durable, and we know his accolades. He's top-notch fighter. It's just, it's not his time right now. Merab, if it wasn't for Aljo, could have possibly already be the champion. So I think the winner of this fight, regardless, probably gets a shot at O'Malley next. But I do believe that Merab is going to have his way with Cejudo.
All right, man. I'll make it a consensus. Roland had to step away real quick, but I'll make it a consensus, man. Everybody with just that, the last with the last name Valav or anything like that right now is just destroying the UFC, dog. So as the more casual fan here, I'll just go ahead and go with Merab. There's not even an over under, so I don't know how that's going or why they took it off the board. Maybe there's something going on that we don't know. Currently it's minus 275 for Merab.
Yeah, it's an over fight. I think Merab by decision, but Merab showed up at the press conference yesterday with a Mexican flag, so he's honorary Mexican. Also, he's fighting Cejudo, and I guess he was getting at Cejudo really not being a real Mexican, even though his name's Henry Cejudo. So he's the honorary Mexican this weekend. But yeah, this should be a Merab. I think steamroll, but I don't see a finish. I really don't see a finish because Cejudo, like we said, he's high competition.
Cejudo, he's a gamer, right? Like he's up for it. He's been competing at the highest levels of competition ever since he's been competing in wrestling, mixed martial arts. Like even, yes.
But that's also what makes his body older than 33, Roland.
For sure. Yeah. I'm just bringing it up to say that, hey, what I was going to bring up also is he looked pretty good against Aljamain Sterling. Like that fight was kind of a toss-up. Like you had Aljamain Sterling's coaches telling him, hey, you didn't look good throughout that fight. Like, it was kind of a toss-up. So he was there with the champ that got knocked out by Sean O'Malley. And yes, I'm siding with Merab in this fight, but just playing devil's advocate, 3-round fight. We know Henry Cejudo is an ultimate competitor. Do you see a route for him to get the victory? I'm just playing like, hey, you said you even brought it up. The odds have kind of gone a little bit out of hand for Merab.
They are out of hand. They are out of hand.
Do you see a way for Cejudo to get there? Or, I don't know.
You would have to stop him. Like, Cejudo would have to stop him. And Cejudo, when you think Cejudo, you really don't – it's not one-hit power. They're in those lower weight classes. And, back in the day, Cody had that power at that weight class and whatnot. But Cejudo doesn't have that power. he did finish Dillashaw, rather quickly, but we know what Dillashaw was going through, to try and make weight and drop
For
weight
sure.
classes. So yeah, I don't think that this is you're really worried about it. The only path is a stoppage, but I don't see Henry Cejudo stopping Merab. I mean, this is a guy who dove head first into a frozen lake, and just stood up, laughed, and was able to talk about it. So he's a tough ass dude, bro.
All right, so before we get
to you don't have to worry about the volume with Merab either. He's gonna be throwing. So yeah. Go ahead, Ron.
Very true. No, you're fine, man. I'll just shout out to everybody in the chat. Edgar's in here talking about football. Jesse says fake news, and then Steve is actually talking about the fight. But shout out to all the boys in the chat, man, joining us on a Friday night. Hopefully, we're keeping you entertained. So before we get off this fight, Steve says I just don't see the hunger in Henry anymore. The time off and that loss to Aljo. He's already saying if he loses, he will retire. So that's a big statement, man. That's a big statement coming from Henry. So I mean, even if he wins, I don't think that he'll continue saying that he's gonna, retire if he loses. That's kind of hanging up the jersey in the locker.
And even the antics that he had coming up to the fight, he fired his coach on the countdown, on camera, only to bring him back. He had kind of gotten away from that king of the cringe shit, and it's kind of coming back with this one. Even the little sweatsuits that he made for his whole team, I don't know. He seems corny, and he seems like he's clout chasing again. And Steve said, if he loses, he'll retire, and he's saying it. So that's 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Mm-hmm. And you got a guy over here in Merab who's never touched gold, and that's all he's wanted, right?
Hungry.
So
he's hungry, cuz.
Yeah, the hunger part. Yeah, Merab should get it done. I just don't see him getting the finish.
All right, man. So it's a WTBS consensus on this first fight pretty easily. We all think Merab's going to win. Shout out. What's up, Bull? He says it's Modelo time, fools. So I think Bull's weekend is getting started as well. But moving on, man, to the next fight, we have Mr. Jeff Neal versus Ian Gary at the 175 division. Another clear favorite here, boys. Ian Gary coming in at minus 230. The reach is about the same. Ian Gary is the taller fighter and the younger fighter by 7 years, man. So does the age, does the difference, have anything to do with the minus 230, or is it just his overall skill? Ben, let's kick it to you, man, on this one.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it. He's obviously that hyped up prospect. This is somebody, in the Anik and Florian podcast, they did a segment on overrated, underrated, or fairly rated. And this was a guy that his name came up. And, they said that he might be overrated just based off what he's done. I mean, this is the toughest fight of his career here. And, of course, every prospect coming up always has their next fight is always their toughest fight, right? Because you're a prospect coming up.
Correct.
Jeff Neal is a pretty good test. We saw him go toe-to-toe with Shavkat in his last fight. Took the L, got choked out at the end. But, I mean, he was really able to bust up Shavkat. So, in this fight, Ian Gary, we saw him pull out of his last fight. He was going through all that controversy with, them calling his wife a wag. I think that's what Sean Strickland and, his little hive were really going at Ian Gary to the point to where he turned off his Instagram comments, and nobody can comment on his stuff anymore. So he seems like a guy who's out there, ready to prove the world wrong. He kind of feels
a little
like
chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, but that could also be a bad thing against a big hitter like Jeff Neal because, you open up a little too much and you take some of those chances because you really want to get that knockout, that highlight reel finish, get on the mic with Joe Rogan and talk your shit to Sean Strickland, right? And that possibly be your next fight. That means you're one fight away from the title if you beat Strickland there. So it's a tricky fight, but Ian Gary, as long as he's able to stay on the outside, I think that with his reach advantage, he doesn't have much of a reach advantage here, but the height advantage, he plays really well to his height. He's not one of those guys that doesn't know how to use his height. So I think if he can stay on the outside, he's got a really good shot. Jeff Neal's game, I'm not willing to lay the minus 230 on Ian Gary because I think this is the fight where we find out if he's for real or not. But I do have Ian Gary winning a close fight here.
All right, so Roland, we got Ben on Ian Gary. The odds did change. Justin did these slides. Shout out to Justin. He's not with us tonight. They were minus 230 when he did it. They're up a little bit, boys. Minus 250 for Ian Gary. And Ben said he doesn't want to risk it, Roland, on Jeff Neal because he's got some power behind his hands. the over is juiced to -140, over 2.5. Usually when the over is juiced, it means that it's going to be a closer fight than maybe what the money line says. Any chance that Jeff Neal wins here, bro? Are you on Ben's side here with Gary?
No, I'm with Ian Gary on this fight, and I thought you laid it out perfectly when you were laying out the question for Ben a little bit earlier, whether this line was indicative of Ian Gary's height. I mean his hype, excuse me, or his skill over Jeff Neal, and I really do think it's a skill factor. Ian Gary is a very skillful fighter. When you talk about MMA, we really haven't seen him tested on the ground too much, but we saw his last fight against Neil Magny, who's usually a good litmus tester of whether or not you're ready to take that next step and move past the gatekeepers of that welterweight division or not. And Ian Gary pretty much schooled Neil Magny in that fight. He's a very skillful fighter. When you talk about, his kickboxing, he's going to stay at range. And when you look at Jeff Neal, he's a guy that, he pops at you with aggression. He'll catch you with some power punches here and there. But when it comes to the pure striking, where I think this fight is going to take place, is mainly going to be on the feet. I'm going to go with Ian Gary. I don't know if I'll take him as a straight up money line favorite. I might put him in a parlay or two, but I really don't see Jeff Neal catching Ian Gary here, especially if he fights the way that we're accustomed to seeing Ian Gary fighting, which is a pretty smart and technical fighter. He's a guy that knows he's on his way up. And I think Jeff Neal is just another test for him as he continues to, build his resume in this welterweight division. But, the only thing that could maybe derail this is, Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this fight was scheduled a couple of months or maybe a year or so before, because I know there's some images of Ian Gary wearing some Jeff Neal mugshot merch. So there might be some animosity from the Jeff Neal side on this.
Yeah, there is. Yesterday when they faced off, though, they shook hands and they weren't really trash talking each other. But I think, that's after Ian Gary got that, reality check. And like I said, felt like everybody is against him. Jeff Neal kept it pretty chill the whole time. But yeah, Ian Gary had made shirts with Jeff Neal's mugshot on the front of them when they were supposed to fight a while back. They get to squash the beef here, and like I said, they're going into the fight pretty respectively. But it wasn't a commercial break. I had to let the pup in. The pup was outside making a little too much noise. So.
All right, so we got Steve in here. Steve is pretty much has been on us since the beginning of the show. This is the fight I want to see. This is a fight for Ian to prove himself. If Neal can get his hands on Ian, it's going to be tough. I got Ian winning with ease, though. So you boys are all kind of on the consensus of Gary. Let's touch on the over-under really quick. I mentioned earlier.
What's the under at? What's the line on the under?
Yeah, I got you. Over 2.5. -140, under 2.5 at +110. So if you think that Jeff Neal is going to come out, maybe catch Gary early, I mean, the under might be a play at +110, or you guys playing the over at -140?
Yeah, I don't want to take a side, but I think that somebody here needs to get a finish. Like I said, okay. Jeff Neal, he has heavy hands, and Ian Gary also, he's trying to prove a message. So under 2.5 at plus money, give me the under.
All right, Roland, what you want? Just a little stab here. It doesn't have to be.
I gotta
hold you to it.
I gotta see it to believe it with Ian Gary. I need to see him put away a guy like Jeff Neal, who seems to be tough. So give me the over on the 2.5. I see Ian Gary getting himself a little decision here. So I'm not gonna agree with Ben on that over under.
All right, cool. So it looks like over here at the bottom, another WTBS consensus, man. Ian Gary. So far, boys, we have Merab and we have Ian Gary. And let's move on to the third fight, boys. So in the 185-pound division, both 29 years old. I mean, they're both reach is almost the same. Height is almost identical. I mean, mirror images pretty much if you're putting up, two fighters next to each other. The only thing that is way different are the odds. We have another 2-1 dog in Paulo Costa and the favorite Robert Whittaker at -250. The whole storyline here is, Costa's annex. He's all over social media, but he hasn't fought. He's pulling out. He gets hurt, this and that. Whittaker hasn't fought in a minute either. So with two guys hitting the age of 30, maybe their title shots are kind of coming to an end a little bit. What's the story on this, Roland? I'll kick it off to you, bro.
Man, this is a great matchup. I mean, in terms of you have Paulo Costa, a great personality. He's the guy that's known for throwing a lot of power behind his shots. Then you have Robert Whitaker, former UFC middleweight champion, has a lot of pedigree behind him. So honestly, with this matchup, this is honestly a great matchup. This is something that we might not have seen. This is usually a championship level matchup with these guys that have pedigree. With Paulo Costa, fighting for a championship, losing against Izzy earlier in his career. But for me, these odds I think might be a little too out of whack. I know Ben might disagree with me on this, but I think Paulo Costa is a little bit disrespected in this respect. He has been out of the octagon a little bit. People might have a little bit of a sour taste in their mouths with his last performances against Izzy and against Marvin Vettori. So I completely understand that. But Robert Whitaker in this matchup, he's not a true volume fighter. He's not a guy that's really going to be in your face too much. We saw his last performance against DDP, the new middleweight champion, just dethroned Sean Strickland. We saw him get knocked out against him. Kind of underestimated him in that matchup. He's kind of alluded to that. Paulo Costa, however, I think he might be overlooked in this situation. This is a guy we saw him getting, I mean, for lack of better words, embarrassed against Izzy. And then he didn't have such a good performance against Marvin Vettori. Been out, recovered against Luke Rockhold, got a good victory there, but missed a couple of fights. I mean, in terms of dates with Hamzat, I like Paulo Costa in this spot. 3-round fight. Bobby Knuckles, Robert Whitaker, not too much of a volume fighter. I think Paulo Costa might surprise some people here in this spot. Interested to see what Ben thinks here, but at plus 205, as Justin has it lined up here, I mean, I could think of worse things to do with my money as lay a little bit on Paulo Costa.
All right, man. So what is your that was a great fucking analysis, by the way. But who are you riding with here, man? Just overall, straight up.
Me?
No, Roland. Just like a final.
I'm going
say.
Costa here. I'm going Costa.
Okay.
I'm taking the money.
All right, cool. And the reason your analysis was so good, bro, because I'm actually gonna put it here on the bottom. The odds just changed, so we have actually Costa coming in at plus 185 and Whitaker at minus 235. So a little different than what Justin has up here. So, I mean, Roland was kind of right on it, Ben. What do you think, bro? Are you gonna take a shot at the underdog here on Costa, or you're gonna keep chalk here and go with the favorite for the third fight in a row?
Yeah, I definitely didn't like what I saw from Robert Whitaker in his last fight. I took him in his last fight and I lost because I thought that he was going to be able to beat up on Dricus du Plessis. But I mean, here we saw du Plessis become the champion. Prior to that, Robert Whitaker had lost to Israel Adesanya, another champion. And that's about it. The Jared Cannoniers of the world, the Marvin Vettoris of the world, the Paulo Costas of the world. Like, those are the guys that he looks like, Robert Whitaker when he fights. So I think in this one, I think the odds, I know that they're going down a little bit. I might keep waiting. Paulo Costa, fan favorite, I think, just based on his social media antics.
Agreed.
With his new, energy drink or some sort of. So he's really
juice,
played his cards right.
Juice, baby.
The only thing that he hasn't played right is when he's been in the octagon, because, when he did get his title shot, he looked like he didn't even belong in the octagon. So I don't think that he is a championship fighter. I think that Robert Whitaker has proven that he is a championship fighter, and he only loses to guys that, are eventually going to touch gold or have touched gold. And Paulo Costa isn't that, bro. He's not that. He's not reliable. I think that Robert Whitaker's more well-rounded. Definitely, though, I didn't like, how he was reacting against Dricus du Plessis when he was getting hit. Paulo Costa does have power, but, I mean, who have we seen him put out in the last 5 years? I mean, the guy hasn't – there's not much to his resume.
He's only fought Vettori, Adesanya, and Rockhold. Those are his last 3 fights.
I mean, anytime Luke Rockhold is in your last 3 fights, you haven't fought in
he
a
hasn't
minute.
fought in a
cuz.
while, bro.
He
That's
hasn't fought
exactly
in a
what we're
minute,
saying.
dog.
Like, and Bull
Yeah.
mentioned earlier, Costa will not overcome the ring rust.
Yeah, man.
That's
Let's get to the let's get to the comments really quick because Bull and Steve have been riding with us this whole show, man.
Hell
So,
yeah, Bull. Shout out, Steve.
yeah, man. Let's get to Bull's comment real quick. Costa will not overcome the ring rust. That was his comment, and then Stevie hit us with, "Give me Whitaker. Guy has fought them all, but again, the power Costa brings." So it sounds like Steve is on Whitaker as well, and Bull says Costa's got the rust. So there's three dudes, Ben, that where you're gonna make it 3, and Roland might be the only guy taking a shot on Costa here.
Hey, we got Ray here in the comments. Just came in just as you saying that, but
Oh,
honestly,
my cousin
for me,
Aldo, yeah.
this is a little. Honestly, this is a buy low spot too on Costa. All we've seen is his lack of output against Izzy, getting embarrassed. He lost to Marvin Vittori.
He lost
really
to
haven't seen too much.
Vittori, bro. Like, come on, bro.
I know.
I mean,
I'm just
still,
saying
though.
it's a little bit of a buy low. I mean, this is a guy that was the number 1 contender against Izzy at one point. I'm just saying.
But you already missed the best line. Like,
yeah,
I
true.
mean, the line's only going down, and he hasn't shown much. I'm not going to say I'm going to go and throw money on Robert Whitaker because I don't feel super comfortable in doing that at that price. If it keeps going down and I can get Robert Whitaker around minus 170, then I'd be down to lay it there.
Right.
But at the current odds that we have listed on the screen, and I think even Ron said they've gone down a bit.
Yeah, I just put them up right here.
Yeah, Whitaker still at minus 235. That's pretty steep, from what we just saw. I understand your dog play here, Roland. I just don't think that Costa's the guy that's going to fight for your money.
It's very true, Ben. What you said about Whitaker is like he's not a gatekeeper, but he does put out mediocre competition, and he still can't go in.
Like a top
he still
3,
can't go and beat the champs.
Gatekeeper. That's
for sure.
what he is.
Perennial. Yeah, top 3. Top 5.
Real quick, let's touch on the over under here, boys. Over 2.5 minus 150. Under 2.5 plus 120. So very similar to our previous fight. The pace. Let's just talk real quick about pace because we're talking about over and under. They're not guys who you think are gonna come out with a flying knee kick or spinning back fist or something crazy like that to end the fight quick. Do you think the pace that these guys fight at has any effect on the over being juiced to minus 150 over 2.5?
Definitely. These are both guys are technical fighters. They like to take their chances especially when you look at Robert Whitaker, and he's a favorite in this fight. He's a guy that you expect to dictate the tempo of this fight. And Robert Whitaker is a guy that likes to take his chances. He's a guy that lunges in front of you once he sees an opportunity. So, to answer your question, Ron, I definitely do think that plays in as a factor and why the over is juiced a little bit here in this situation.
Can this be like a boring fight, Ben? Can you see him go in there and not want to get knocked out and not get embarrassed? Like, could this be like a low-key sleeper of the night?
Having hesitancy, to pull the trigger, and Whitaker just winning a kickboxing fight from the outside. Just touching him up, leg kicks, just touching him, and Costa kind of just maybe hunting him down, but never really pulling the trigger. So I think that the over it's at over because Whitaker is the favorite, and Whitaker probably wins a decision here.
All right.
So if Costa's going to win, it's going to be because he gets the knockout. I don't see Costa winning a decision. I don't see that at all.
Yeah, he's going to have to put him out. I agree.
So final vote, man. Final vote here. Roland's going to take a stab on Costa, and Ben is riding Whitaker. Ben's got all the chalk tonight. Was those your final decisions, boys?
Yeah, I'm sticking with Costa.
All right, man. So the main event, the reason why we're all here it is, boys. The champion, Mr. Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria. This is at the 145 division. A little bit of a longer reach for the champ. By 2 inches, not bad. He is 5 years older than Topuria. Everybody saw the social media, him dressed up as grandpa, Costa going in, waking him up. Let's get to the odds, minus 125 and plus 105 for the challenger. Currently, though, boys, it's at even for Topuria and Alexander Volkanovski has gone to -130. So I don't know how those odds are playing out right now, but even for the challenger and -130 for the champ. Ben, let's kick it off to you, man, since we let Roland have at it first on the last fight.
Ben, break it down, boy. Break it down.
This division, Roland has said that, you know, this is kind of might be a changing of the guard, and we've seen it from McGregor to Aldo to Holloway to Aldo, and then Volkanovski against Holloway. And I think this is where we see it again. We've seen Ilia Topuria be very, very confident. I mean, and we've talked about, you look at his schedule, his resume, you know, Josh Emmett might be his best win. But when you're a prospect coming up, he's an undefeated prospect at that. He's very precise. This is a fight where Volkanovski's not going to be the quicker guy. He's not going to be the, you know, cat-like reflexes. This guy's not going to be in there swinging wildly like Max Holloway is. He's a little more technical, keeps his guard a little bit tighter, and he's just a little more calculated, I would say. Ilia Topuria is like the new style fighter, the hybrid. He can wrestle. He can strike. We've seen Volkanovski, you know, he's been able to get taken down, albeit it was a weight class up against Islam Makhachev, but he can be taken down. I hear that he's had a kind of wrestling base camp. We'll see if that's because he thinks Ilia Topuria might, you know, a thing that I could see him doing is stealing rounds. Earlier, I told Roland, Costa won't fight for your money. Both of these guys will definitely fight for your money. But I like the young gun in this one. I think it's time for the guard to change. Ron said I had taken the shot. Give me the dog.
Nice.
I think we're going to see some and new. And for Volkanovski, I mean, it's been a good reign. Arguably, you know, he's defended the belt a lot, but he's coming back a little too soon from that head kick knockout that he suffered to Islam Makhachev. You know, just not even a year removed from that. So that's a big KO loss. Topuria is saying that he will get him out of there in a round. Like I said, this guy, it's a lot of, you know, Conor McGregor type vibes. He even tried snatching the belt, you know, at the press conference, but he seems to be manifesting a lot. Like I said, he's very calculated. We've seen that he definitely, you know, looks like he can play the part. So I think that we do see Alex Volkanovski finally just get outclassed in there and, you know, not be the quicker guy. I think that's going to be the deciding factor in this fight.
All right, Brolin, before I get to you, man, the chat has some quick quotes right here, some quick comebacks. We got Bull saying, I wouldn't bet against Volk. He's going to rugby the you-know-what out of this boy. Steve also says, I think Topuria gets a reality check from Volk in order to beat the champ. You got to beat the champ. And then Aldo says, Volk put the house on it. So we got a little bit of a disagreement over here in the chat. Aldo finishing it off by saying Ben taking L's like Messi at Inter Miami.
Hey, this is what I know. Roland said this is a buy low spot on Costa. This is a buy low spot on Volk. Against anybody else in this division, you see Volk at -200 and up. So this is definitely, I think they're playing in the fact that he got head kick KO'd. And I mean, Ilia Topuria is really good, guys. He's undefeated. He's a really good prospect. I like that I'm in the minority on this one. I really do. I'll be on the island.
Roland, I saw you.
On Volk or
yeah,
what?
I saw him throw his hands up. I know Roland's ready to go off. Roland, every fighter after their fight in the interview, when they say, who do you want next? The first thing that comes out of their mouth, I don't care. I just want it soon. I want to fight soon. Keep me fighting. But can that backfire on Volk by saying that he just got head kicked to death? Do you need a little bit more time to lay off here, especially defending your belt? What's your prediction on the main event?
Definitely a valid concern that you bring up, Ron. He just got head kicked by Islam Makhachev, but let's not forget that's at 155. At 145, Alex Volkanovski has been virtually untouched. We talk about, you know, what he's done against Max Holloway, one of my favorite fighters of all time, pretty much unscathed against him. He has run course against this division. I mean, in this situation, I think we're going to see a little bit of levels. I know Ben in the past has, you know, he has brought that up. You know, there's levels to this game in MMA. And we see Topuria, his best win is against Emmett. You got what he's done against against what's his name? I'm blanking out. Bryce Mitchell. He dominated those two guys in his last two fights. But Volkanovski, he's admitted, taking that Islam fight on short notice was probably a bad take on his part. That probably has a little bit of sour taste in a lot of bettors' mouths, and maybe in Vegas mouths. That's why you see the line so short right now. This is definitely a buy low spot on Volk, one of the greatest, if not the greatest featherweight of all time. Bull brought it up in the chat. He's gonna rugby this guy all fight. This is a guy that's pretty much. I mean, he's the definition of a weight bully. He's a guy that was 225 not too long ago, fighting at 145 now at featherweight. I think we're going to see him rely a little bit on his wrestling. Yes, he's not the quicker guy. Ben, he pointed that out. I do agree with him. Topuria is probably going to be the quicker guy. That's Topuria's path to victory. But Volk still has that otherworldly reach where we see him shorter than most fighters in the division, but he still has that reach because of his crazy arm length or his wingspan per se. So I'm siding with Volk in this spot. I like to put my money on guys that I can trust are going to stick to their game plan. Volk, no, he messed up taking that last fight a little too early. He wasn't really in the training camp. He got knocked out by Islam. I think we've all acknowledged that. But that's at 155, 145. This is Volk's division. I think he's going to move on after this, but he's going to show Ilya that there's still levels to this game. And I'm siding with Volk here.
All right, I love it. Whenever the main event isn't agreed on, isn't a consensus by the boys here, we talking about sports, that always makes it fun because the shit talking is gonna go down in the group chat. So let's get to the comments, boys. Steve says, "I see," and again, dog, Bull,
Ben,
Steve, Aldo, you guys have been riding with us.
The thing is, though,
Ben, I gotta ask you though, Ben. I gotta ask you because you've always been a guy, even up until Usman when he got knocked out by Leon Edwards. You want to put your money on champions that you can count on. Isn't Volk the definition of a champion that you can count on? Why are you siding against him here?
You did just say that about Whitaker, Ben.
I know, but the thing is, like, you're here kind of trying to give him that crutch that he took that Makhachev fight on too short notice. And here we are again talking about he got head kick KO'd. And is he fighting again too soon and did not recover? I mean, like, the definition of what is that? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. I get it's only the second time, but we're here talking about, is he taking the fight too soon or not? I mean, this is an undefeated prospect. This is a guy that can stick to a game plan and a guy that has smashed everybody that he's fought. Like I said, there's those changing of the guards. Volk also has said that he, after that knockout loss, he just started binge drinking and pretty much became an alcoholic. Like now he's trying to play it off by dressing up as a grandpa. The signs are there, boys. The signs are there. Like we've talked about the hunger. He already realized that he can't go up there and be double champ. I mean, he's on his way out. He's on his way out, and Topuria is here to show him the way out tomorrow night. I like this. We're going to talk about this. Everybody fucking shitting on me. We're going to talk about this.
I mean, he is an older fighter at 31. It would be crazy, to see him lose a fight and just kind of not collapse. But Volk has always been, like Aldo says here, Volk is a pit bull on rabies. So to see him digress would be a big shock, man, taking two big L's. Jesse, Bull says, Roland, that you're spitting over here, man. So we already know what side Jesse's on. Let's get to the over-under real quick before we go. I think I had it up here. Over 3.5 minus 130, under 3.5 at even money. Obviously, this is a 5-round fight because it's for the championship. Where are you leaning, boys, here? Over 3.5 or under 3.5?
I'm going under.
So you see a finish. Man, this is tough for me.
What Topuria is saying.
He did call Illy. Yeah, he did call Illy.
I don't see Topuria putting out Volkanovski. Honestly, I see this over 3.5. If Volk puts out Topuria, okay, but I see this going to a decision. I think Volkanovski is going to stay at range. He's going to take advantage of that reach. He's going to take him down when he needs to, apply that pressure. I see Volkanovski by decision here, honestly. I don't see a finish here.
I like that, Roland, because we've seen it in the past where the champs kind of have that championship mentality going into those rounds 4 and 5. They kind of know what they need to do to win the fight. Maybe Volk says, you know what, this guy is too young. He is too fast. I'll just outpoint him. I'll just out wrestle him. So the judges can look at me and say he won the fight and I live to fight another day. We have Bull coming in here with another shot. Fighters aren't over the hill until 35 plus. Ben is a lost kid in the carnival. Don't ever, ever disrespect Volk. Steve backs him up. Volk by KO in 3 rounds. Mystic Mac.
Bro,
I mean, Ben is catching
bunch
strays,
of fucking casuals in the comment section tonight, bro.
Bunch of casuals. I love
This is
that.
a guy moving up in weight, coming back in weight. He's got a lot of shit going on, bro. Topuria's here trying to touch gold for the first time.
Oh my
I'm
God!
telling
Look,
you, dude.
Albert,
Y'all better show up.
Gotta go.
Ben, but be honest.
Puro
Be
Alexander,
honest.
Dad.
Ben, be honest though. Do you not think that Ilya is going a little too over his skis here? He's grabbing the belt. He's getting a little too crazy.
People said the same shit about McGregor rolling, and then in one punch he knocked out Aldo.
Bro, but there's only one McGregor. There's only one McGregor.
Look at this guy. He's got the chest tats. He might be the Spaniard McGregor. Like, watch.
Ron, be the tiebreaker here, Ron. Please. Where are you siding here? You got to. Yes, you've been playing the moderator here, but this is the main event. This is highly contested.
Ron's a sheep. He's gonna go with the chat, bro. He's a sheep.
Oh, you know what, boys? All right, I'll give my one opinion the whole entire show here, bro. And okay, I've been watching the highlights, right? The hype, and I'm not gonna lie, bro. Illy looks scary. He looks scary. He looks like the younger fighter. Obviously, he is a younger fighter. He looks faster. He looks like he's hungry. The press conference, I mean, dude looks zoned in, you know, and the antics by Volkanovski, we've known him to be a more, you know, respectful guy, a little bit more of a, I'm focused, I'm ready, I have a championship mentality. And the whole, you know, get up and dressing like a grandpa, I don't know if he's extremely focused on the fight, man. And you have these younger guys at 26 years old, you know, he's at the top of his game. So my official decision here to get to the point, I'm gonna have to ride with Illy, man. So give me Illy Topuria. We'll have Ann New to cap off UFC 298. And I think that Roland said it off camera, man. This could be one of the great low-key cards because 297 was trash. We have 299 who is possibly has great potential, and then right after that, UFC 300. But don't sleep on this card, boys. I mean, appreciate everybody watching. We're not done yet. I'm sure we're going to go ahead and chop it up randomly, you know, for the next 5-10 minutes if you guys want to. There's side conversations over here talking about HEB and, you know, what is it? Bull saying Illy is a Walmart brand. Connor, I will pass. Albert,
bro,
you know,
y'all
and
gonna be put on. You casuals who have never seen Topuria fight is what it sounds like in the comment section. Y'all are going to get put on tomorrow, bro. You're going to be like, hey, this guy's for real. Hey, this guy's real technical.
But let's be honest, though, bro. Like, the only guys that he's fought is Bryce Mitchell and Josh Emmett, bro.
Didn't we say the same thing about Ian Gary? Like, when you're a prospect.
Yes,
Connor fought for the belt.
He's literally going from Emmett to Alex Volkanovski, the greatest featherweight of all time. Like,
bro, Connor went from
more than
Dan
one level.
Seaver.
That's more than one level.
Connor went from Dan Seaver, who was like a 35, 36-year-old guy, to fighting Chad Mendes for the belt, bro. Like, we've seen it. We've seen it.
Dude, but Volkanovski is not Chad Mendes
from fighting to fighting for the belt. Like, we've seen it. Sean Strickland knocked out a dude making his UFC debut and then fought for the belt. We've seen it.
I guarantee tomorrow night we're gonna see Topuria on his back more than not. Volkanovski's gonna take advantage of the wrestling here. It's not Bryce Mitchell. This is not the same type of, like, we saw Bryce Mitchell shooting against Topuria. It was desperate. Topuria was ready to shoot it down. He defended those takedowns perfectly. You can't take anything away from that. But Volkanovski is a different beast. I just don't
see.
The
only advantage Volk has in this fight, Roland, is his experience. That's it, bro.
Yeah. What I will say is that
and the range.
Nah.
2 inches isn't much, but
And the
what I
leg
used to
kick.
think, what I used to think, bro, when I would watch Volkanovski fight and he was, killing everybody, I was like, dude, this guy's fast and this guy has, accuracy. I mean,
That's
his
where he beat
boxing is
everybody,
incredible,
his speed.
right? And then his last fight, albeit it was up a weight class, he looked a little slower than I thought, and then it's another 6 months, another 8 months added onto your life. You get a little bit more tired. I don't know if he's
Become
gonna
an
look
alcoholic.
as fast and as crisp, man. So Bull is just like on you tonight, Roland. Roland brought his A game. Ben, hope you're taking notes.
I'm going to school right now, Dad.
Steve's over here. Daniel Go Lightly.
Hey, but
dude,
let's chop it up.
This
a
has
little
been
bit
a hell of
about,
a show.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about y'all's girl, Mackenzie Dern.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's
Stop.
chop it up about some fights that are off the main card. We got Mackenzie Dern versus Lemos. Ben Lemos is a short favorite. I think -135 the last time that I saw it. Mackenzie Dern taking this fight on short notice. Mackenzie Dern, more of a wrestler, gets a little bit desperate at times, probably not as clean with her takedowns. Are you going with the short money on Lemos? She's a power in this situation. She's a more pure striker. We last saw her against Wei Li, the champion in this division. What are your thoughts here? Because honestly, I would call myself a little bit more of a casual. I'm siding with Lemos here. I don't think Dern can take her down and control the wrestling. What do you say, Ben?
Hey, just firstly, you didn't need to confirm you were a casual. We heard it in your Volk argument, just like everybody in the comment section. Y'all are all casuals, bro. Y'all are gonna learn. We got a new commenter throwing. Is that what flag is that? Y'all educate me. I don't know what flag.
That's Georgia, baby. That's Georgia, Marab, baby.
We got some Marab fans in here. All right, here we go. Here we go.
I think so.
Is it? You know what? Thank you for watching. You're probably our first international fan, so appreciate the love. If you can drop your pick, even though I think we already know who it is. If you want to type it in there, we'd appreciate it.
No, but in the Mackenzie Dern fight, Roland, you did mention. I mean, if the fight gets to the ground, she's got a huge advantage. But the thing is, she's not a good wrestler. Like, she gets the fight to the ground when she can really bully chicks. And Amanda Lemos is not a girl that can be bullied. Just because Mackenzie Dern's not shooting like double legs or single legs, she's like grappling up against the fence and then trying to drag the girl down. If it's like a mom, the moms of the UFC that come back after they become moms and you can drag them down by their neck, like with the little bulldog choke and just manhandle them. But that's not going to work against Amanda Lemos. I think that this fight is going to take place on the feet for the most part, and I think Lemos is going to rough her up. Y'all might not want to look at her Instagram for a good month after this fight because she's going to be busted up, boys. I got Lemos here at a short. I think she's a short favorite, but I think it's worth it.
Yeah, here it is, man. Here are the odds. Hey, man, don't be snitching on our what we talked about in the group chat, bro.
Why do you think the line is so short, though? Lemos is a girl that just fought
because the public's all over Dern, Roman, the casuals.
Okay. I know, but that's why I'm asking. Because honestly, to me, this feels like a layup.
Who do you guys got in the chat?
This feels like a layup. Who do you guys got in the chat?
Lemos or Dern?
This feels like a layup for Lemos.
It's not a layup because if it gets to the ground, Mackenzie Dern will probably dominate her.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
But I don't see it getting there, bro. And if it gets there, it might be like in the first round early, but on the feet, it's going to be a huge mismatch. It's going to be a huge mismatch.
All right, so the updated odds, the UFC website has Dern at +114, Lemos at -135. Currently on the book, Lemos is -120, and you have Dern coming in at -110.
And Roland, you said short notice, and remember Mackenzie Dern's last fight, she got her ass whooped by Jessica Andrade. She got beat to her.
Yeah, but it's Jessica Andrade.
Hey, bro. Well, listen, Ron, you're a part of that casual group too. Tomorrow you might learn about Amanda Lemos.
Oh, so you're saying that Jessica Andrade is like?
No, I'm saying Amanda Lemos is bad, bro.
Yeah, Lemos might be, and Andrade.
She has hands.
Yeah.
She has hands.
All right, so what are we on here? Just to make it official.
I like Lemos a lot.
Lemos. Yeah. I'm glad.
All right, so we have WTBS consensus. All right, so Lemos, WTBS consensus at -120. Bull also Lemos second round finish. Let me check So we have over 2.5 plus 110. All right, so you guys kind of have a point here. So the under is definitely juiced to minus 140. So Vegas thinks that this fight is going to end in under 2.5 rounds, which goes to you guys' point that maybe Dern is stepping up into a weight class or into um, yeah, a fighter who she might not have a chance against.
Yeah. And
Anything else, man? You guys want to touch? We have Tafa versus
the,
Lima, Vera
the
versus
Fluffy
Nakar.
Hernandez and Kopilov fight.
Is that on the early prelims?
I think that might be the
No.
first main card fight or the main prelim fight, if I'm not mistaken. I think.
Dern.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is.
You're
Anthony
right there.
Hernandez versus Roman Kopilov.
Yeah, this is gonna be a good fight, bro.
All right, so we have Anthony Hernandez, number 15, ranked at minus 245. Huge favorite against Roman Kopilov from Russia at plus 200. You guys want to weigh in on this real quick?
Yeah, I think that in this fight, Kopilov
Brutal
has,
casual gang. Hey, Ben, I think you just started something tonight. The next WTBS MMA t-shirts might just say casual on it.
Yeah, hey,
In
we're
big
all
letters.
casuals
That
here.
would look sick.
WTBS casual. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, no,
Well, I'm
but
a
in this
business
one,
casual. I
Kopilov,
love it.
if you look up his last couple fights, he's been getting a lot of KO finishes. I think it's like 3 or 4 straight KO finishes, but the competition has been pretty bad. Anthony Hernandez, man, this dude's somebody said dog earlier. Yes, Alexander Volkanovski is a dog, but this dude Hernandez, definition of a dog, the complete opposite of the comedian Fluffy. This dude's nickname is Fluffy too, but god damn, he's a dog. He's one of those fluffy dogs.
Yeah, so we have him at 11-2, Ben, like you were saying, and it doesn't say his last fight.
No,
So go ahead and take us through that.
The price at a 2-1 favorite, I think that this is a pretty easy fight for Hernandez. Bull's Tocayo, shout out your Tocayo Bull here, but I think Hernandez is gonna wrestle. He's gonna get Kopilov down early, and when he gets him down, he's gonna beat the shit out of him, bro. So I really like Hernandez here. I think as far as Kopilov on the feet, it would be competitive. It stayed there. I don't expect it to stay there much just because Hernandez has a rowdy gas tank, shoots a lot of takedowns. I think he's going to take Kopilov into some pretty deep waters, and I see him getting the finish, honestly. I really like him. I know the line says 2-1, but somebody who maybe you close your parlay with, open a parlay with, and shit. It's MMA, and 2-1 in MMA those odds aren't too bad when it's a one-on-one mano-a-mano fight, right? There's not a lot of variables going into it, players, all this other stuff. So I like Hernandez any way you want to take him. I really like him.
All right, he does have a takedown average of about 7 takedowns per fight. However, Kopilov's takedown defense is at 92%. So if Hernandez does get stuck, is that his only method to victory? Just in case all those takedowns, like you were saying, get stuffed?
No, I think that he can make it pretty ugly on the feet. I mean, if they're going to fight at range, that's definitely where he loses the fight, but I don't expect it to be there. He's the type of guy that dictates where the fight's going to go just because he's not scared to, take one to give one as far as getting inside, pressing him up against the cage, and then dragging him down. Like I said, bro, I think that this is going to be like one-way traffic. And Kopilov, I've taken him a couple of times, but just he's had some highlight reel knockouts, but that competition has been, very, very mediocre to below average competition. He's getting a ranked fighter here in Hernandez, albeit he's number 15. But this dude's a top 10 fighter in Hernandez, so I think that he steamrolls Kopilov.
All right, Roland, you want to touch on this fight, man, or is there something else that you want to look at?
Honestly, this is a great fight to break down, Ben. I think you broke it down perfectly. Fluffy. Honestly, I don't think you mentioned that nickname though. One of the better nicknames in UFC today. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. Excuse me. I'm siding with him in this fight. The only pause here is, again, it's a 3-round fight. Kopilov does have some recent success with his knockouts. If he's able to stuff the takedowns, Hernandez might find himself in a little bit of trouble. But I do think that Hernandez is going to show a little bit more of that, just overall MMA game, going to be able to control him on the ground. And I think he has more paths to victory than Kopilov. Kopilov, like Ben said, this is probably his best competition that he's fighting in Anthony Hernandez. And I think the ground game of Fluffy is ultimately going to be what takes over here in this fight. So I think Fluffy's a good parlay piece in this situation. Although Kopylov is a pretty good striker, so if he is able to stuff those takedowns, Fluffy could be in a little bit of trouble, but I don't see that happening here.
All right, man. I like it. So just to go over the card real quick, we have Miranda Maverick versus Andrea Lee, Woodburn versus Elliott in the early prelims. If you guys want to start sipping early at about that 5 o'clock time, because I think this fight is in Anaheim, California. We already know that Ben's probably going to get started tonight.
It's a long weekend.
And then to go to the prelims, Quinlan versus Barlow, Riviero versus Ming Yang, Vera versus Nakamura, Tafa versus Lima, and the main event for the prelims, of course, like we talked about, Limos versus Dern. Whenever you go to the pay-per-view style, whenever you start hitting up that gorilla box, Hernandez versus Kopylov will be starting you off. Marav versus Henry, like we covered. Neal versus Gary. Costa versus Whitaker. And then, of course, the main event, boys, Volkanovski versus Topuria. Shit, man, it was a hell of a show. I'm good. If anybody else wants to continue, we can keep going. If not, we can call it for the night. It is definitely up to you, boys.
Oh, yeah, I'm good. The prelims are pretty underwhelming, but I think that, the main 6 fights, along with that, prelim main event with Dern and Lemos, those fights are all really worth it. I think the pay-per-view card is really worth it, for the $10 when you sign up for Gorilla Box. But I'm really looking forward to the fights, bro. Really looking forward to the fights. And then the next pay-per-view is March 9th. So it's damn near 2 weeks away that we get Chito Vera against Sean O'Malley, with February being that short month and then the March pay-per-view being at the front of the month. So good times for UFC right now, really good times. We also should be getting the announcement for the UFC 300 main event. Dana said that he would be announcing it sometime. I think he said it might be the post-fight presser for UFC 298. So a lot of speculation, whether it's going to be Hamzat against Leon Edwards, whether it's going to be Bilal against Edwards, whether it's going to be Conor McGregor. We know that John Jones already said that he won't be ready by then.
We know Bilal's not getting UFC 300 main card. We know that.
Relax.
We know that. Dude,
that's all I got.
That's all I got. That's not going to happen.
Wow, Ray of all people saying fuck Chito.
Is Aldo, cuz?
Wow.
I'm surprised.
Yeah,
Chito did let us down.
Chito
did let us down live at that UFC.
Chito's gonna break him again, bro. I just thought Ray would be down with the Raza,
No, pues it's because Chito let him down and Aldo's on that Nelk Boys. You know what I'm saying? Aldo's on that Nelk Boys Sugar Sean.
Hey, I will say Sean O'Malley has some good commercials for the Happy Dad.
I was saying,
he lost me money. That's why.
We'll break it down on when we do the UFC 299 pod. But Sean O'Malley, dude, he broke himself the last fight. I don't think Chito broke him. I'm just saying.
It was the leg kick that turned off his leg.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, O'Malley didn't kick himself.
Good point, but I'm just saying
he's not Mexican. He's not Mexican. But he's kind of Latino, I think. Isn't he from Ecuador?
He's from Ecuador. That's what
he's from Ecuador. But he got 50-45 by Corey Sanhagen in San Antonio, Texas. If you guys
live, bro, we saw that shit. It's terrible.
Yeah, but O'Malley's not going to be shooting takedowns and humping Chito all fight like Sanhagen.
He doesn't need to. If they want to stand up, watch. We'll see.
How he broke him last time.
All right, boys. All right, let's go ahead and wrap it up. Friday night, the weekend started off. The chat was going off. Hell of a show. Justin couldn't join us, but he was in the chat anyway. I think I saw him drop a comment.
Oh yeah.
We'll do a quick video after this so we can put it up on our social medias. Just giving you strictly winners. Probably be like a 30 second or a minute video, just in case you missed the show or just in case you didn't share it. You can at least share it where we just drop your winners so we can make y'all some money tomorrow night. And shit, that's it for me, man. Thanks for watching. Anything y'all want to say before we play the outro?
Nope. Peace.
All right.
One more sleep.